paint some turtles. So let's go ahead and get my camera on the tripod, see if we can get that angled in so you can see the turtles and the garden, right? That makes for the best painting experience. Bear with me for a moment. Oops, getting on this tripod is not my best skill. There we go. There we go. Let's see, let's raise the tripod up just a little bit. Adjust this angle. See if you can see the turtles, and if I can make this a little smaller maybe. Nope. All right. Well, I know I should probably focus on one turtle at a time, right? I think if I move this back a little bit, it'll be better. So let's try that. Whoops. There we go. Yep. All right, well, our most popular turtle colors so far have been Sanibel, which looks kind of aqua turquoise color. So today I want to do a aqua, and I want to do a green, like an ocean green. And I have both turtles up here because I don't want to get them rained on, because it looks like we could have some rain today. And these are the color choices I have to work with. See if you can see my color chart. And a couple of components of this project. We are using concrete acid stain, which is acid. So you definitely want to have some gloves on. Think about eyewear if you're not as coordinated, or if you have any concerns about splashing yourself because you don't want this in your eyes. We have over here, we have a baking soda and water solution right there. That is a acid neutralizer. It's 1 part baking soda to 10 parts water. And that's in the event that we do get any acid on ourselves. And I have my paintbrushes and some water. And to start, let me locate my green concrete acid stain, which is called Pacific Dogwood. Here we go. All right, good. You can see my stain there. I think you've got a good enough view of my turtle. So to start with, I don't know that you need to shake this, but I always do give it a little shake. To start with, let's get our big brush out. Now this one. You could use a bigger one, but this is the biggest one I have. And because this is concrete acid stain, you can expect that you're probably only going to be able to paint about 3 turtles per brush, right? Because it will dissolve the metal part. I'm going to start by putting down a base coat of the green on this turtle. We had a nice breakfast this morning. When we got back from our walk, we had some oatmeal, we had some boiled eggs, and we had some fresh fruit, and we had some coffee, some green tea. And then after that, I spent some time working in the garden. I'm happy because some of our trees that have been struggling with the heat are reviving themselves. They must have heard me threatening to replace them. I spent a little time going through all of our garden and removing dead leaves. Dead leaves will not revive, so it takes some strain off of the trees if you get those leaves off. Now, an interesting thing is with the grapefruit, our dwarf ruby red grapefruit, if you followed any of our garden videos, you cannot prune that at all when it has fruit on it. I learned this the first year, because it will actually drop a fruit for any branch cut that you make. But with the lemon, that's not the case. What I've discovered with our Meyer lemon is you have to be very careful when removing leaves because your fruit needs the chlorophyll from the leaves as much as it needs fertilizer to grow. You'll stunt your tree, or not your tree, but you'll stunt your lemons. And while we were out there, we inspected our squash, and thank goodness we did, because we found some squash bugs. We found a colony of squash bugs, and we found some fresh eggs, and we got rid of all those. So I guess my desire to look in on our plants today was well founded. And I'm in the perfect mood to come out here and paint turtles. Actually, gardening and painting I find to be quite relaxing. So this really is good for your peace of mind. I really enjoy this color of green, by the way. It's got a lot of character too. You can see that it's taking on some interesting dimensions here. We have some aqua popping up and some green. And I enjoy differentiation in color. I feel like it gives a character. End up with a really nice outcome. Make sure you get the sides really well. It's easy to miss that. And I've used this concrete stain now. This is year 2, and I'm very happy with the results. The turtles that I painted last year are true to color, and that's because this stain actually etches into the concrete. It's not a paint, so it won't peel, which is wonderful because our desert sun bleaches everything out. But that especially holds true to garden tags. My garden tags just don't retain their color. If I put a tag out and I write squash, well, guess what? Week, 2 weeks, you can't see it anymore. Whatever kind of squash it is, you'll know it's a squash by the leaf, but you won't know what kind of squash it is. Oops, it looks like my brush head wants to come off. We might not be using this one too long today. We'll see how it goes. We'll use it until it breaks, right? Maybe I should use that for the top surface. That acid just, yep, we're done with this brush. I do have some more brushes in the bedroom. I have to. Okay. If you had a larger brush, you would be faster, but it doesn't really matter. It still paints. We're getting a really nice modeling of this nice sea green with a little bit of an aqua color, which is quite interesting. I wasn't expecting that. I like it a lot, really. In fact, I like it so much, we might just do this specific dogwood, because it looks like we might get a mixture of aqua and green, and I could even touch it up with the aqua to add some depth to it. Now, the only hard thing about the shade out here today is I'm probably going to be combating bugs here at some point. If that happens, I'll step away to get my electric tennis racket, because those work really good for nasty bugs. We don't want any bug bites. Look at how nice this is. This is such a pretty color. It's going on so well. I think we'll put the base coat down on both turtles before adding additional darker paint for concrete stain. And I do have some tea here to drink, but I don't have it on the table because I don't want to accidentally mess up and dip my brush into my tea instead of my water, right? So we don't want to eat this for sure. Okay, and I am going to step away for a minute to get my electric tennis racket. It's just inside the door. Watch my turtle. these things right here, if you can see it, they work great. No bug bites today. In fact, let's see if we can get this one here. Oh, sure, land on it, right? Okay. We have a fly that is skilled in evasion. I am loving these colors. This is so pretty. I wasn't expecting to get aqua with green, and that is awesome. Especially seeing that those were the colors that I wanted to use for the base today. Yep, see that fly right there? What an annoying bug. Alright, let's just enjoy our turtle. If you see any spots that are white where you missed it or it didn't absorb, just put a little more on it. So let's see, we talked about how the concrete acid stain is an acid. You don't want to get it on your skin, in your eyes, right? You don't want to get it on a surface that could be ruined. I actually have a large trash bag, a really sturdy trash bag underneath my turtles because I don't want to ruin the table. It's got a little, it's an old-fashioned Italian patio table. It's an antique. Has had a little wear and tear, but nothing would put wear and tear on it like putting acid on it, right? So we're not going to do that. Let's make sure that we don't ruin our table. Are you enjoying the garden? Got a view of that? I know I do. I have a large project going for these turtles for the front yard. And then actually, once I finish the front yard, there's something that I want to do with turtles in the backyard as well. Kind of want to line the garden with it. I think that would be really cool. Maybe do away with my plastic pots. Just give definition to the garden with the turtles. I have my garden currently lined with ceramic, plastic, fiberglass pots, whatever I could find. Initially I thought that would help keep the rabbits out. Well, it doesn't work, but it was kind of nice to be able to isolate different plants and herbs. Because one thing that you learn about gardening, companion plants, it's really important to have plants planted next to each other that get along. Some plants put off enzymes in the soil that deter the growth of other plants, like strawberries and fennel. And some plants just suck up the same nutrients, and so if you have them next to each other, they're not going to do as well because they'll be competing for the same things in the soil. That's why I have some pots, in addition to trying to keep critters out, but the whole critter thing didn't work. We've started adding some wire cages around our pots, and that seems to be helping. Most animals don't want to get into a confined space. Just loving this nice mottled aqua and Pacific dogwood green. And you could just go right over the base coat with the next color of concrete acid stain if you wanted. And I've done that before. This time I'm actually going to paint the base coat on both turtles so that it kind of dries a little bit before I add the next color. And I actually like how it turns out either way. Sometimes it's nice to hold your true color, base color, and that works out a little better if you let it dry more. Especially when it's this pretty. mean, you could almost just paint it with just this color itself and it would look absolutely gorgeous. But I enjoy adding definition. I like to layer, texture the color. And the concrete acid stain kind of marbles if you really pull it. So that can create a very cool effect as well. You won't be able to buy turtles that look like this in your garden center, that's for sure. And if you make them yourself, it'll cost a lot less money. And the acid stain kit that I'm using has a whole bunch of colors. And I mean, they're all natural neutral colors, but it's considered a sample kit and it's really not that expensive. And more than likely, this will last me for my entire front and backyard project. I think I spent around $60 when I bought this last year. It's probably gone up a little bit in price. A lot of stuff has doubled, right, with inflation, but you'll get your bang for your buck with this sampler kit. And I ordered it off of Amazon. And the brand is Active Elements. I may move out of your view as I'm working the turtle on the edges. Hopefully not too much. I tried using my iPad to do a live the other night, but unfortunately it doesn't have the right software. And I think it would be a little bit challenging to update it to that level. It is an older iPad. I've had it for quite a while. So we're just going to stick with the camera for now. Could try the computer sometime too, the laptop, that might work. But I do enjoy the portability of the phone, and the phone battery lasts longer too, so there's a lot of pluses to just doing the phone. And I can still take advantage of the house Wi-Fi when I'm at the house doing lives versus using data, which is nice because I've actually used up quite a bit of our data this month. Not that my husband cares. These are such pretty colors. Never would have guessed I would have been getting the model between the aqua and the green. It's really, really pretty awesome. And I'm using the Pacific Dogwood color, in case you're wondering, with the base coat. And where the color pulls a little bit is where you'll get the marbling. That's kind of cool too, right? Because it'll happen on its own in certain places. You could actually just pour a whole bunch on it too if you wanted, but I enjoy layering the colors. And I can't look at anybody's comments right now, obviously, but if there are any comments, I will go back later and try to answer. It works a little better when we're walking the dog to comment, or for me to view the comments. Sorry about that. But when I'm doing this, I can't. Okay, I think we've got a pretty good coat on this. Let me take a look here and see if I can see the second turtle. Let's just move this a little bit over here. There you go. All right, let's put our base coat down on our second turtle. Hope you're enjoying our garden. It's very peaceful out here for me. oil is oxidizing on my brush here. Everybody's having a nice Friday and have some fun plans this weekend. I'm going to grab a paper towel here so I can wipe my brush off a little bit, get that oxidation off my brush. The acid is really corrosive, as you can see by looking at this brush, right? So we'll just wipe it a little bit because we don't really want this coming off on the turtle. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything, but I'd rather not have it there. Just saturating the surface of this to get our base color down. Just Pacific Dogwood. See if we get the same aqua coming out on this one as well. That'll be interesting, right? I find that if you use different colors of sand with your Portland cement, you can get sort of different coloring as well. Oh, there's our bubblers. Our yard is really happy right now, so I'm going to keep the bubbler schedule written down so that next year when it's really hot we can remember what we had it set on that was working so well, right? Oops, well that wasn't so cool. Got a little wind coming in here with our weather. Let's get that off. That was not planned. I mean, it's not really going to hurt anything, but it wasn't what I wanted either, right? We're hoping to get some rain. It's very humid today, very overcast. Although I do see a speck of blue out there. Well, I think this oxidation will come off just because it's not acid stain, right? So let's just keep painting and see how this goes. Definitely enjoying the sound of the water. How about you? Probably almost dumped a little bit of this on here to speed it up. Let's try that. See how that goes. Look at all that green. Just move it around. Probably get some cool marbling from that. It'll take a while to tell. There we go. Why didn't I think of that sooner? What a great idea that was. I mean, you won't want to do that for anything that's definition, right? But for putting the base color down, not a bad idea, right? Just don't waste your stain. Don't get too sloppy with it. You don't want it on things that you're not wanting to paint, right? Because it is an acid. I haven't had any problem using this safely, but I would definitely not allow children to do this. If you wanted to make turtles and let children paint them, you'd want to let them use watercolors. That's the safest thing. Watercolor actually, or even acrylics, right? That color will sort of hold up for a year or two, and then you can let them paint it again, right? And you don't even have to make more turtles for their entertainment. I remember who I was talking to that wanted to try painting turtles with their kids because they liked my project so much. make sure you get the sides. You don't want to have any white spots. It's fun to experiment with different colors of sand when you're making your concrete. And I haven't tried putting in any rocks or glass, you know, like broken glass or stained glass, only because it would probably take out the definition of the turtle. But it might be cool. Might be a fun thing to try sometime. Put that in your mold. Of course, I don't know if the cement would seep around it and obscure it. That's also possible. It's probably better to add stuff into plain walking stones that you might make with a walking stone mold. That could be really fun. Let's put a little more on there. That worked so good the first time. We're only doing that with our base color, just to speed this process up a little bit. Just be careful not to flick it on your skin or in your eyes, right? It's an acid. If you did accidentally get yourself into stuff, you'd want to use this neutralizer right away on whatever surface that it touched you. And if you were to get it in your eyes, definitely seek medical care for that. We don't want anybody going blind, right? We are continuing to work our base coat onto the surface of our turtle. You definitely won't get this effect with any other type of paint. This is definitely cool stuff to work with. If you think you're really clumsy, it might not be the best thing for you to use just because it's acid, and don't let kids use it. That's my primary recommendation. And right now I have it so that Meg can't come out here because I wouldn't want her to accidentally knock anything on herself, or, you know, animals and kids are unknown content when you're doing projects that have the potential to be hazardous. Whether you're working with concrete acid stain or canning in the kitchen, it's just not an activity to have little children or animals involved in. Alright, let's go back to dipping it on our brush here. Work on our head a little bit. Get a lot of enjoyment from doing these types of activities. I find it very relaxing. And some people that have no experience with artistic type endeavors find this kind of stuff stressful. But once you get in and get your fingers in it, usually you start to go with the flow and relax. So I would encourage anybody to try this type of art. It's more forgiving than a lot of other types of art. And at the time, I went with the turtle only because there are desert tortoises here. I would have loved to have a lizard mold if there was one available, but I couldn't find one. There was like a lot of round things, round molds, and sun kind of themes. I kind of wanted an animal. Now these are pretty sturdy, but if the USPS man jumps out of the truck and goes running up your yard instead of the driveway and steps on one, and if that person's a pretty big, heavy person, probably going to break off a flipper, right? We had that happen once. It's not hard to use concrete cement to fix that either. Epoxy also works. My husband accidentally broke one the other day. I hadn't picked it up out of the yard, and he was helping me water. This is when I was still working. And he accidentally broke one, and he fixed it. I'm getting some nice marbling here as a result of pulling the stain on the top of the turtle. And letting the stain drip doesn't bother me. I think it kind of gives a cool effect. Just don't let it drip on anything you don't want it to drip on, right? Like your floor, your table, any other surface, your carpet. Don't do this inside your house. Definitely do this outside. Almost have our base coat down on both turtles, and then we'll be ready to add some definition. Oxidation off. Alright, we have a nice base coat down here. Just work this stain around a little bit. It's cooled. And I'm getting some of the aqua color in too, mixed in with the green, which is really awesome. Really like that. Now our other turtle, the first one, is mostly dried, so we're ready to go ahead and add some definition to that. I'm going to stick this brush in our water, hopefully it holds up. And we're going to get a smaller brush that will allow us to paint smaller areas. And let me pick our next color out for this. Let's just get a little bit of this acid off the edge, right? We don't want that dripping anywhere. All right, let me think here for a moment. Color chart moved away. Let's grab that. I think I want to work lighter to darker, so I'm going to use Timberwolf, or I'm going to use, well actually I'm going to use Yukon next. Let's see what Yukon does for us. Yukon is kind of a sandy green color. Let's see if we get any definition at all adding this to it, right? We're starting to get some nice marbling as a result of the stain pooling, which is awesome. I'm going to start with the largest defining areas now, which will be the definition of the pattern on the turtle's back. The bigger grooves is what we're going to work with. I hear my loud neighbors yelling at their dog. Sometimes I hear them hollering at their kids. I think they're just loud people. I don't think they're mean people. Just loud. Alright, I think this is going to work, so that's awesome. I like to go lighter in areas that are larger and darker in areas that are increasingly defined. So I don't want to go too dark on any big areas, right? Then you kind of clobber the project. Really liking how this is working. Now let me make sure you can see the turtle that I'm working on right now. See that all right? There's my hand. Okay, let's move it just a little bit. Let's double check that view here. Yeah, I think you can see okay. Right. So we're doing the larger definition now with a lighter color. It's called Yukon. And this is concrete acid stain. And as we go darker, I'm not going to dump the stain. I would only recommend doing that specifically for large areas when you're putting down your first coat. That was kind of fun, I thought. Let's get these cracks here. Basically, we're doing the primary larger design on the turtle's shell. First time I tried doing this, I tried being very specific with where the color went, but the concrete acid stain flows like water, so that's a little challenging to do. You could do it. Then I realized I liked it with a little looser application. This is one of those things that not perfect is better. Almost made it around the turtle shell. All right, the next thing I like to do is I like to go to the edge of the shell where the line from the tortoise or turtle design goes to the edge, and just put a drop of the stain on the edge so it runs down. Gives it a lot of character, in my opinion. That's just what I like to do, but you don't have to do it. We might as well do this section right here where the flipper divides to the shell as well while we're at it. There's a lot of possibilities with this concrete acid stain and making your own yard decorations. Well, I'm waiting for the rains. So far it hasn't happened. We got a little sun coming out here, but I see some pretty dark clouds off in the distance too. My friends in Arizona were telling me that their monsoon season has started. So usually when they get rain, we get a little bit of rain. But if we get a lot of rain, Arizona typically gets really slammed. I imagine the higher you are in the mountains, the more so that's true. I think a fun thing to do would be to go to yard sales. Say if you didn't want to make the turtles yourself or whatever yard decoration you have, you could actually go to yard sales and look for people's old decorations that they're getting rid of. We have a cherub over there by the fig tree that's never been painted. It does have like some really ugly flowers that they glued onto it. So I'm gonna switch colors now. We're gonna put the Yukon away. It has some ugly flowers they glued onto it that I have to figure out how to get off. But I think that would be really fun too, because then you wouldn't have to actually make the yard mold. So let's see what I want to do next. Let's add a reddish tone. Let's try the desert. Well, do I want to try Desert Fire? It's pretty close to the Timberwolf. It's a little darker. But let's try it. We'll try the Desert Fire and see how that turns out. my concrete acid stain in a cardboard box in a closet. So I'm just digging through and lifting them up to find the color that I want. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some definition to the head and to the flippers using the Desert Fire. So I'm going to do this toe area here. So this is going to be a very earthen looking turtle with green tones, which is going to be pretty, and a little aqua. It's also going to be really pretty. And it's okay to rework surfaces that you've already put the acid stain on. I did that with the brown turtle that I did the last time, and I was really happy with the outcome for that. So for example, with this eye, depending on how dark this gets, I might come back over in the center of it with a darker color. And I could possibly pull some of the aqua on the shell section of the turtle. That would also give it a really nice effect in the end when I'm done adding the definition. And I'm happy I picked the Desert Fire because it's giving enough contrast. Let's just let that pull over the edge like we did with the sides of the shell too. Just adds a lot of character. And I do that by just getting a large drop on the brush so that it runs down the side. Eventually, it runs down the side. I'm definitely liking the Desert Fire added as a definition color. All right, let's work on our back flippers here. I think of all the art mediums I've tried, this is by far the most relaxing. It requires the least attention to detail. So if you were never good at drawing or painting on a palette, you might be able to do this and be happy with the outcome. I took a lot of art classes when I was in college. I just found it relaxing to have along with my more serious classes. I've always loved art. you don't have to be an artist to enjoy art. You can use it to enrich your life. I am not recommending anybody to be a starving artist by any means. Thankful I had a real career. I just used art to enrich my life. If you think about it, decorating your house can be pretty expensive, right? So if you can learn to make things yourself, you can have a custom home, a lot of personality. Your decorations won't look like the same thing as everybody else. And you will have some nice memories from making your own stuff, right? Add a lot of character to your life. All right, we are done with Desert Fire. So we're gonna go a little darker now. Let's see. I think maybe we will try English Mahogany next. This is a darker brown color. You can also buy individual bottles of the concrete acid stain, specific colors you like, but I really recommend taking advantage of the sample kit because it goes such a long ways and you'll get so many colors that you can work with. So now we're going to do the definition on the shell. My good friends in Alaska has a really lovely home, and everything they've decorated it with was made by a local artist, which having somebody else make it is quite expensive, but they didn't just go to Walmart, Fred Meyer's, and buy whatever painting that was on the shelf. And most people may not be able to afford buying prints and paintings by artists. That's why I recommend learning how to do some stuff for yourself. You can really make some beautiful things, especially if you texture. You can use fabric, wood, twine, all kinds of things. Create something lovely for yourself. And with our turtles, we are just layering color. That is going to give this some texture when we're done. And don't get in a hurry, just enjoy the process. That's what I recommend. And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, the less perfect it is, the better this will look. That's my experience. I don't know if you can see the little dove. There's a dove that we rescued, and she is just hanging out pretty close to me. I can always tell her because she's not afraid if I'm standing up, and I can actually walk pretty close to her. And she has a mate, and they're the ones that don't fly when I move about in the yard or stand. So this part does take a little bit of time. I'm going through each groove to add definition, but it's worth it. And if you get out of the groove, it's okay. When I first started and wanted to make these turtles, I was just so thrilled with them being turtles that I would have loved them as they were. But then one of my sister-in-laws was like, paint that turtle. So then I'm like, oh my, what am I going to paint it with? Because paint here doesn't hold up too well, right? Because we have blistering sun. And the first person I talked to was a friend of mine that does ceramics. And she recommended an epoxy enamel type of paint. And then I had a friend that was more of a craftsman that worked with concrete, and he said to use concrete acid stain. And I was pretty intrigued by that because I'd never actually heard of concrete acid stain. And I will say this is some of the coolest stuff I've ever used. Especially seeing that it's not going to peel and it's not going to lose its color in the sun. That is the best part about it. And you get such a nice look and technique from using it. It's really pretty gorgeous. People actually use this to do concrete floors, right? You paint a concrete floor with this stuff and it would look really awesome. Patios. Yeah. I wonder, probably would have looked really cool on the block wall, right? Before we painted it white. That would be interesting. You could get pretty creative with that. Of course, I don't know. That's probably a better thing to do if it's your permanent home, right? If you were thinking of reselling, there might be somebody eccentric that would like that. But other people like plain and boring, so use your own due diligence with that one. Don't surprise your husband while he's gone on a trip by painting your wall with concrete acid stain. Mine would be, oh, that's really interesting. Mr. Painter is a nice man. Got a little wind coming in here. We might get that rain. Could happen. Usually that signifies a change in the weather here. Maybe it won't really pour before we're done with our turtles, but I can still paint as long as it's not blowing sideways, right? We have to be able to keep our surfaces dry. This is going to turn out really nice. So far my neighbors have liked the ones that are aqua green colored the best too. I like how the Pacific Dogwood actually kind of made a combination green and aqua. That turned out pretty cool. was meant to do that, but that's what it did, so we will take it. So I spent a little time in the garden earlier, just trimming off some of the really dead leaves. And I'm happy because the lemon is growing new leaves on it, so is the kumquat. And the kumquat is actually blooming again. So I'm guessing we're going to get 2 crops of kumquats this year. And believe it or not, both apples have new blooms on them, which I don't know if anything will come of that, but only time will tell, right? Maybe they think they're dying and they want to reproduce. The plant kingdom does work that way. A friend of ours grows grapes, and they said you get your best grapes when the plant thinks it's dying, so you want it to hardly have any leaves on it, right? Just don't water it very much, and you'll get the most grapes. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. I think I'm going to change colors for this part. Let's try another one, just to keep more interest, make it more interesting. It gives it more definition. All right, let's rinse the brush off here and put this one back. And that was English mahogany. Let's try some Colorado gold. This is supposed to have more gold tones, like goldish brown. Actually more gold. We'll see how it looks when we put it on a turtle with the greens. So we're going to use the Colorado gold to finish up our definition. And then once we finish that, we're going to come back with the Sanibel, which is kind of an aqua color, and we're going to hit it in the middle of the circles, the design on the back of the turtle. And I'm just letting this drip off the side because I love that. This adds so much character. I really don't think you could go wrong with these turtles. I think no matter how you painted them, they'd be pretty. This is just a really nice design. I also got this mold off of Amazon in case you want to find that. What I will do is I will go back and add leads to concrete acid stain and molds if I can find the turtle mold in the description of the video later tonight, in case you want to try using what I'm using. like making all these turtles just slightly different. So I'm using more brown and gold tones on this turtle, but when we do the other turtle, I'm going to use some of the darker colors that have red tones in them, just to see how that looks. It's kind of nice to mix it up a little bit. And that fly is back. Yeah, I think next time we do painting in the garden, we're actually going to get that cherub that we found at a garage sale. And we're going to paint that. I think that'd be really fun. Now, if you do projects like that, larger projects, your concrete acid stain won't go as far, but it still goes a long ways. I have made a whole bunch of turtles and I've barely dented the stain. Painting along here, making sure to hit each definition. Almost done with the definition. I'm going to add one last color just to give it a little bit of a splash. Trying to make sure that that fly does not bite me. He is pretty determined. Okay, so we are done using our Colorado Gold. Let's rinse our brush off. Let's go get our Sanibel. Let's just add just a little color to it. This one is pretty neutral. And I'm going to switch brushes. This one's a little larger, so it'll be easier. Let's just pull the Sanibel here in the middle. And tomorrow I will come back and I'll do a short and let you see how these turtles look after they've had a chance for the stain to dry. We'll let them sit for overnight, and then tomorrow we'll use our baking soda and water mixture to neutralize the acid stain, so that it doesn't just continue etching into the surface indefinitely. And you don't have to be perfect with this, just pull it in to the center. If it overflows the center, that's okay too, it won't hurt anything. Anytime I've overflowed something, it's actually turned out looking pretty cool. I've been happy with the outcome. And I think what we'll do, just to add a little more depth to this, let's just add a little bit of the Sanibel on some of the edges. Last time I did that, I gave it a really nice look after the color had set in. I really liked it. Just with any enhancing color to whatever shade you're using. I'm using Sanibel, but you could use a different color, right? So if you were doing brown, you could work over this with a gold color. Since we have green, we're working over ours with the Sanibel. Just really adds some nice texture to the finished product. And I think I'm going to add a little bit in here for the channel around the eye. Instead of going back over the eye. A little bit right here. And this brush is about toast. This acid is really hard on stuff. Okay, we're done with that brush. It's not going to be of use anymore. Alright, it doesn't look like we have anybody on the live right at the moment. I've seen a few people bump in, so we're going to go ahead. Oh, look, there's somebody there. So you can see how this one is turned out. I'm going to go ahead and get another paintbrush so I can keep working on turtle number 2, right? Because our 2 larger paintbrushes, unfortunately, they succumbed to the acid stain. I know right where my paintbrushes are, so I'll be right back if you want to just hang loose and start the other turtle with me. Get this tripod back. So watch my turtles. I'm back. So if you want to work with concrete acid stain, buy a whole bunch of paintbrushes, right? That way when they give in to the acid, you can keep working. And since we already have our Sanibel out, I'm going to go ahead and add the Sanibel into the middle of the turtle shell on this turtle as well. Make sure you can see that one. I think you can see that okay. Let's go ahead and add our Sanibel. I'm going to move these brushes so that they don't blow all over the place. There we go. I love a new paintbrush. And I'm just kind of texturing this in here in the center. You can also work in reverse when you're painting these turtles. Sometimes I start with the definition and then come back with the lighter color over the whole surface of the turtle. Either way you do it, it turns out really nice. This concrete acid stain is very forgiving. So we used a lot of brown colors on the other turtle. We're going to use some reds on this one. They're going to be neutral reds for our definition, just so you can see the contrast. So it doesn't blow corroded material all over the place, or at least all over our turtles, right? That was kind of the pain. And I'm going to go back and add the aqua to the same places, just because I think it'll look really nice. Let's put a little more on this one too, on the flippers. You can already tell I'm going to like how the Sanibel addition to the center of the turtle design, the circles, you can tell that I'm already really going to love that. It's turning out super nice. Because it doesn't etch in evenly, so I'm getting a really cool mixture of aqua and green, which is really, really nice. I like it. Alright, let's go back to turtle number 2 and keep working on it. Just adding in our Sanibel while we have it out. It's nice to add this color, just gives it a little more depth, right? Makes it pop. Okay, I think we got all the circles, we got the same definition area. Let's rinse our brush off here. And I'm going to keep the Sanibel out in case I want to add more of it. I'm going to set it to the side. And we're going to work our way darker with some red colors. Let's go with Red Rock. And we're going to do the biggest definition on the turtle's back now with the red rock. I think the red colors will give us more of a rust tone, but let's find out. I don't think I've put this on the green before, so let's see what they do. I kind of dripped it loosely in a couple of places that I didn't mean to, but it doesn't matter. It will still turn out cool. That's one thing I really love about concrete acid stain on stone. It turns out so nice. Somehow we already have some kind of rust colors on this turtle, and I don't know if it's from oxidation from the brush, possibly. Maybe that got blown over off the napkin with the wind. Anything's possible. But I like it. I think it'll enhance it. Actually, the red rock is going to blend perfectly with that oxidation that occurred from whatever. Not sure what caused that. The only thing I can think of is the oxidation off the middle on the brushes when they broke. That blew off the napkin. It would be kind of fun to see if there are some bright colors to use that are concrete acid stain. I'm kind of a nature freak myself, so I enjoy these natural colors, but it might be kind of fun. And let's see here. Do a little bit more with this color before we switch. Doing our larger definition. Alright, so that was red rock. Let's go ahead, let's try some rosewood. A little darker red. We'll use that on our really detailed definition. So we'll get our tiny brush for that. Still dodging that pesky fly. As I have my hands full, right? And our little dove is still up there eating away. Boy, she must be hungry today. Make sure you can fly away when you're done, little dove. You want to see the dove? She's like, oh, why are they looking at me? Right, let's make sure we're back on the turtle. There we go. I'm hearing a lot of planes, which isn't terribly surprising. I kind of feel like those are military planes. We aren't anywhere near the airport. I kind of feel like those are flying from Nellis. Usually the airport planes we just see in the sky, they're already way up by the time they get into our view. So this is a rosewood. It should be just a little darker red tone than the last one we used. But we'll find out how it reacts. Yeah, if you decide to do something like this with kids, the other cool thing about watercolor is it's kind of translucent, so if they could actually paint them over and over again, right? Sometimes kids get stuck on wanting to do something and they want to do the same thing over and over again. So watercolor would be your best friend if you're going to try this with children. You hear those birds? Those are my little bug eaters. I think they're warblers. I love those little birds. Anything that eats bugs is my friend. Why are you so hungry, baby? Why are you so hungry? Did the other birds take all the food this morning? Were you left out when the big crowd was here? Little dove is still eating away. We weren't sure when we rescued a dove what would happen. You know, would she become independent? Would she be really dependent on us? At first she really bonded with us. She would ride in my husband's neck. She actually flew to him from a tree once. When we first let her go out in the wild, she wasn't real happy with us. She didn't want that independence, but she's a bird. She needed to be a bird. And she comes and sees us every day. As long as she's around, we'll probably keep putting food out. But now that we have these quails that are so cool, we'll probably feed them too. I really enjoy the quail a lot. It was pretty remarkable this morning because I called them and they came down. Started walking right towards me. I guess they're not dumb. They saw food, right? That was an accomplishment. I've been trying to make friends with those birds for years. In Alaska, we had pet chickens. And they were egg layers. That was pretty cool. If my husband was here, he'd say, put some brown on it just in case a bird poops on it, right? Interestingly enough, I don't have any bird poo stains on my turtles in the front yard, so mostly they seem to be back here. So far, the red tones on this green look pretty similar to the brown tones. And the Sanibel that I put in the middle of the design actually is taking on more of a green on this one. So that's kind of cool too. You're probably never going to have two turtles look exactly alike, I guess is my point. You can use similar color schemes, but you're probably always going to get a slightly different turtle, which is actually kind of awesome. And let's move on to the definition on the outside of the shell. I think I'm going to do the bigger definition on the outside of the shell, and I'll switch colors for the smaller definition. And I'm just letting this drip over the edge of the side because I like that look. Keep everything loose and flowing. Oops, this one's breaking down too, see that? Okay, well let's switch to a different brush. Definitely go through a lot of brushes with this stuff. Glad we were able to get that smaller definition in the center of the turtle done. Using the smaller brush, it's easier. Can you hear those birds? I love those birds. You think they're saying, come get the bugs? All right, let's add a little more here on the feet too before we switch colors. A little bigger definition in this area here, so we don't want to get super dark. We might even come back over this area with a little more aqua just because I think that would be pretty. And try to keep it flowy, no hard lines, right? Just soft edges. Yeah, our red tones are definitely looking kind of brown. So I guess that's the red against the green. Makes sense, right? You combine colors on the color palette. Not too surprising. Alright, little definition on the toes, and we'll be ready to switch colors. switch colors now. Let's see, what do we want to try? Let's do some Timberwolf. It's more of a lighter brown tone. A little more definition to do here. But I had a big breakfast. I've been out in this yard for a while now. Have to have a little snack before we head to the gym. That's on the plans for this afternoon. I like this. This Timberwolf actually looks really good against the green. So far we don't have any rain. Darn. It only said a 15% chance, but usually when you get wind and the sky like this, it usually happens. And then the other day when it really rained and poured, it really wasn't even on the forecast, so who knows? Like this, be sure to give yourself some time. This is not something that you want to rush. Granted, you could always put the first coat down and come back and paint it again tomorrow. That would work. But it's kind of nice to do something like this and let it finish so that tomorrow you can come back and put the neutralizer on it, right? And I like to put the neutralizer in a squirt bottle because then I can squirt it on the turtle and then scrub it a little bit and then hose it off. Our little dove is starving. She is over there eating away, boy. Not sure what she's been up to. She's definitely hungry today. Hopefully they can't make themselves sick by overeating. That wouldn't be good. Hopefully that bird's not cussing me out for being in the garden. They're pretty standoffish, the warblers. Probably the least sociable of all the birds. But they are tiny predators, even if the only thing they're hunting is bugs. We have a little more detail to do on the head. I think I would like to splash a little more of the Sanibel on everything. Just add a little more color to it. I was going for just a little more color than we have here. It's a little paler than I expected. So let's get on with that, making a colorful part. Okay, we'll go to this turtle first. I'm just going to add some here on the feet. Try to be a little sloppy with it so it kind of looks a little more flowy, right? Flowy is better. Don't want any hard lines. And let's do his nose a little bit. There we go. He, she, whatever. It's a generic turtle. A little more color makes it a little more better when you're doing the blues and the greens. The browns, not so much. I like browns too. We're just going to add a splash of Sanibel to the bigger areas, right? To add some color to it so it's not quite so neutral. And I think we're going to finish this project just in time to avoid being chased in by the weather. I also find that you get your best finishes by adding color like this. It just makes layers of color and often ends up looking quite nice. It just is more intense, I guess. More rich, that's the word I'm looking for, rich. Sure, why not? A little more in here too. And we'll just do the side that's more of the Sanibel color. We'll leave the part that turned green alone. But we could get some additional green in here. You never know what it's going to do. That one. Let's wipe the corrosion off our brush a little bit. Let's go and add a little more color splash to the other turtle. This is what's going to make it look really personalized. Oxidation there, you know what? I think it's going to be just fine. So it don't matter at all. Add a little more character, right? almost done. It'll be fun to see what this looks like in the morning once the colors have had a chance to meld together. It'll mostly look like it looks now, but it could change just a little bit. All right, let's take a look and see what we got going. Take these gloves off before I touch my tripod. All right, this is the first turtle right here. And this is turtle number 2. They're really very similar. Yeah, I kind of like it though. How about you? Does anybody want to see the garden? Let's take a look at the garden so you can see how things improved before we sign off for the day. I think I have a little more battery power left. Let's do it. Because this is art in the garden anyway, right? Look at these grapefruits. Oh my gosh. There's another one down here. I was taking care of these trees this morning before we started painting. There's another one. And this is a dwarf ruby red grapefruit. Oh, there's 2 there. I almost missed it. And one down there too, right? This tree is amazing. It has really been a trooper in this heat. And this is a crazy thing, right? We've got the apple trees blooming. I'm kind of thinking maybe they think they were dying. Oh, there's another one right down there. That's pretty cool. This is our Anna apple. And our delicious apple that actually put fruit on for the first time this year. It's really small. It's hanging in there. It fruits later, so it has a bit of a disadvantage. But look at that. That's blooming too. And here's our kumquat. It's lost a lot of leaves, but it's making new leaves. And the really cool thing is, look at this. It's going to set on more kumquats. You see that? Those little white blobs? Those are flowers. When it first starts, they're really, really tiny. You almost don't even see them. And then you're like, oh, look, it's flowering. And we are harvesting a lot of figs right now. And the birds are getting some of them too. But, you know, as many as we're getting, I don't mind sharing too much. Let's take a look at our lemon. You can see this lemon is looking way better. And I did take the recommendation that one of my viewers had of putting yeast and sugar in a jar with water and letting it sit overnight and then adding it to 5 gallons of water. I'm going to do that once a week for a while. Give this a little probiotics. So here's a lemon here. There's a lemon over there. I saw a new lemon in here today. There's about 8 on here, which isn't a whole lot for the size of the tree, but this tree has had a rough go of it. Just happy to see it putting on lemons at all. You can see all the new leaf setting on though, right? And I went ahead and took off the dead leaves because the tree ain't going to repair those. Not going to repair those. Here's a lemon here. It's a little suspect these turning yellow already, but it is the right color of yellow. And let's come down here. I know there's some down here someplace. Oops, there's one. It's kind of like hide and seek. If you've ever picked blueberries, you'll know what I mean. At least Alaska blueberries. There's more. Oh, here's one. Here we go. Here's 2. Oh, there's 3. Hey, I like it when that happens. There's there. Can you see that one? Right here. And there's one over here too. So there's some in there hiding. That's wonderful. I hope you enjoyed Art in the Garden today. Thanks for joining me painting turtles. And oh, I have some comments here. Let me actually get to my phone so I can answer the comments. Thank you so much for watching and commenting. I always appreciate that. All right, so we have Pretty Girl Sweetie. Hi, how are you? We have Irene Carpenter. Good afternoon from West Point. That is wonderful. We have, let's see, I'm having a hard time seeing. Is it Merle 2X? How do I get rid of, oh, I don't know how your grandma would give you something like that. I'm sorry to hear that. Everyone's dumb blonde. Hey, thanks for joining us. Oh my goodness, there is my friend Emily. Emily, thank you so much for joining. Hi, thank you. I'm glad you like them.
Are you doing a live?
Yeah, we are just
look
signing
at our
off.
beautiful lemon. Hi, everybody.
We just finished. Look, Emily.
Hi, Emily. Hi.
We just finished painting turtles, and I was just giving them an update on the garden here. It's looking so much better.
Yeah.
And I just want to say thanks for joining us today. Thanks for commenting, and have a blessed day. Thanks for watching.
And we might even get some rain. Look at that baby. There's a lemon there. We got a couple. I mean, it's not many.
There's actually more than you realize. Come over here. Let me show you.